All right, here we are. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Well, welcome everybody. This is our first show, the feature. Thank you so much for coming out. I guess it's only right to start with a round of introductions and what we've been up to, or stature, or whatever you're willing to give or wanting to give. I guess I could start from the right, or my right. Miss Shawn, you want to go ahead and start? Just give the folks a. Oh, well, Portia, you want to go ahead and start? You want to go ahead and start?
What am I?
Sure thing.
Oh, Miss Shawn, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Loud and
Okay.
clear.
Cool. My name is Shawn Zachary, and I am the director of the Prairie View A&M Black Foxes down here in Prairie View, Texas. I'm also the founder of National HBCU Auxiliary and Dance Directors Association. And let's see, I've been coaching for a long time. I've been with Prairie View for 10 years.
That's crazy. That is crazy to think about.
I know. And glad to be here.
Perfect. Thank you. What about you, Portia?
Hi, everybody. I go by Portia, but my name is actually LaPortia Dorch. I am the SILCAT coordinator of the Color Guard at Norfolk State University. I actually, for the past 3 years, have been the assistant. So this upcoming season will be my first season as head coach. And I'm just excited to be here.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Early congratulations.
Congrats, Portia.
Thank you, Shawn.
Absolutely. And everyone, I'm Maya Ellis. Dance-wise, my most recent, in my former life, I was a Black Fox. I served and danced under Miss Shawn as well for Prairie View A&M University. Served as captain for a couple of years there. And so, yeah, we're just happy to be here. Again, welcome to the feature. The purpose of this is just really to make a community for Black women, auxiliary dance, anything related to music, the arts, and a whole lot more. Because I mean, there's a lot going on. We come from a lot of different spaces, and I really think that the conversations that we're going to have are going to continue to progress into different forums, into different types of conversations. And I'm just really here to welcome all, as much as you all are willing to, be as transparent or, forthcoming with whatever information you feel on your heart as well. So yeah, let's see. For starters, I was thinking, it's audition season. It's audition season for auxiliaries, dance lines, color guards, all of those things. And I think with audition season, it's easy to say, okay, it's not easy to say. It's easier said than done to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and audition for these teams. But there's nothing like actually being on the team. And I think I want to kind of get into what that transition is from auditioning, going through band camp, and then transitioning onto the team and what that looks like. I think we all have judged many a different competition, many a different audition process. So I guess for starters, what are the types of things that we look for, or would you say that you all look for when you're doing these types of processes and going through your candidates? And we could just do like a round table. Whoever wants to jump in, if you want to jump in, and we'll just go from there.
Okay. I'll jump in first. I think people don't realize that not only are we looking for how they perform, or how they dance, how they twirl, or whatever the skill may be, but at least for me, I'm looking at how you follow directions before you even arrive for the audition.
Yeah.
So, because it's important to understand, and that as you kind of alluded to earlier, about transitioning from auditioning to being on the team.
Sure.
One of the biggest issues that we have is people not being able to follow directions and not understanding that when you are a part of a band that's got 350 385 people in it, you have to be able to follow directions, or we can't get anything done. And so when we put that audition process out there, and we put the application out there, and we put the process out there, we do pay attention to whether you follow it or not. We pay attention to how seriously you take it. I get people that still send me selfies for their headshot. Still see the seatbelt across their chest. When they send me when they send me their headshot. So we look at these things. It's important because we want to see how seriously you take it, and we want to see if you can follow directions. So that's one of the things. Portia, I don't know if you guys
hit
kind
the
of have the same
nail
thing.
right on the head. I mean, it's gotten to the point where that's like the first thing that we put. It's like, please read directions carefully, because you get all kinds of stuff, or I get a lot of questions about stuff that's already in the directions. So I'm kind of like, this is my job to coordinate, but also work for somebody else. And this is kind of taking up time when I try to be as detailed as possible in the directions. I think the other thing for me is we transitioned during the pandemic to doing our auditions virtually.
Right.
And for some reason here recently, we've had a lot of people with out of state interest. So we've kind of I'm doing my veterans in person, but any new people, I'm still allowing to do virtual. And the steps are clearly outlined, but it's never quite what some people hit the nail on the head. I found that you either knock it out the park or it's completely wrong. It's never like in the middle. I think one of the things that I noticed with doing them virtual is people aren't mindful of their surroundings. Even though we're not in person, try to make it pretty, make sure it's professional, make sure, you don't look like you have on pajamas, those kinds of things. I mean, to me, should be common sense, but they're not. So making sure that you're in a space that gives you adequate room to twirl and do the things that we ask you to do, but making sure it's appealing. I don't want to be distracted, or the people who are reviewing your videos to be distracted by everything that's going on around you, or the fact that, some of the things you don't have any shoes on, or it's not necessarily a flagpole that you're using. So making sure
they're not they twirling with the broomstick.
So, those things are important, making sure that you have the necessary tools, that the background is complementary to what you're doing, and to Sean's point, that you're following the directions, because it is a really big red flag to me if, you've done something completely opposite or whatever we ask. The other thing is that if the audition is really, really short, I can't really judge if you've given me 16 counts of, I don't, really know what to do with that. So that's the other thing, just making sure it's an adequate amount of audition to judge. So those are some of the things that,
it's so funny that you said that, because some of the things that you said, I've looked at videos with family members in the background watching TV. I've looked at, I've seen all kinds of things, and I don't understand why in this era of virtual auditions, because let's face it, virtual auditions are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. So in the era of virtual auditions, we have people that just don't take them seriously, and I'll even put it in my instructions. Please take this audition seriously. Because you just get people that's like, oh, I can just put on, some shorts and, be barefoot and don't comb my hair, don't have on any makeup, and, and they'll do a whole virtual routine like that. And I'm just like, you just wasted time because my judges are looking at you like you didn't take this seriously. So
Sure. So let's
interesting.
take that apart a little bit, right? So let's say from personal experience, right? So as a Black Fox, I know that I was groomed as a woman, right? So the way I left was not the way that I came in, and that just came with leadership and just growing older, and being introduced to different people and kind of learning myself.
Mm.
So where do we draw the line? Because I mean, of course, in this day and age, the slightest of hair, somebody can raise a red flag and say, "Oh, I wasn't treated fairly because this, that, and the third." Right? So where do we draw the line in terms of maybe she honestly, or he or she or they or whomever just didn't know, but they're a phenomenal dancer, or phenomenal, they're phenomenal with twirling, they're phenomenal in whatever regard, versus not. So how, like, because I always think about that, because I'm out when I'm judging, I'm like, okay, I always like to think of the what ifs. And so sometimes it's hard for me to separate, okay, but we're here to do a job, versus sometimes people just don't know. But then I go back to, well, if you want to do this, a part of it is doing your research and asking questions and making sure that you're stepping with the right foot forward. So what do y'all think in terms of that, or have you experienced that?
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, to me, it's a fine line,
Sure.
If they have the skills, I'm not going to automatically say, well, she can, didn't follow directions. Now, if you didn't do any of what we asked, to Sean's point, I can't really do anything with
Sure.
that, and then if you didn't do it and then you didn't ask questions, I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm supposed to do with that in a season where there are 50,000 things going on and you're given a direction. So, but if the skill is there, I may ask some questions during your post audition review, like, we noticed you didn't do this, this, and this. Is there a reason that you didn't do it? And if they say, I didn't quite understand, or they ask me for clarification, I definitely take those things into account. But if, you just didn't do any of what we asked, and on a college level,
Sure. That's the key right there. Yeah.
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 I'm going to give you some grace because, there are different levels, but there has to be some ability to follow the instructions that are handed down to you.
Right.
So,
because that's part of it. That is part of it. And, I think, Maya, you hit it on the nose. They have to be phenomenal. Phenomenal for me to look the other way. And then you also have to, that's why I have other people judge my auditions.
Yeah. I don't judge either.
Yeah.
No.
I don't judge. So, you need to be phenomenal. And so sometimes we will, we'll look at it and maybe, like you said, provide some grace. Maybe they just didn't know. And Maya, as you know, here in Texas, we get dancers from all over the place. So we get, dancers that know the HBCU style. We get dancers from, Texas high kick, drill. We get studio dancers. We get, and now we're getting majorette dancers.
Sure.
So, some know the drill and some don't. And so sometimes I do have to think about that. Well, maybe they just weren't versed and they just didn't know. We're also getting a lot more dancers from outside of Texas. So they may not know as well. And that's kind of one of the missions of the association, which is for us to try and educate,
right,
these coaches and stuff, and say, hey, this is how, when you send your dancer or your performer to an audition, this is what needs to happen. This is what it needs to be, because it's not going to change. Because there's nothing that burns me up more than to have a dancer sham through my audition, but then we'll go and audition for Texans or DCC, and they'll have everything on point, like everything, the headshot, the outfit,
Yeah.
everything. But they shammed at my audition. I feel so bad, like, well, you did it for them. Why are you, taking us for granted?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's, I do give some leeway, but, a lot of times I'm just kind of like, I got to keep an eye on that person.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely don't want to start off with the wrong foot, because then you can start thinking about, okay, well, how is this going to unfold in band camp throughout the season? Are you going to be that one that's going, that one bad apple that spoils the bunch?
Mm-hmm.
Now, with that, so typically there are different levels with auditions themselves. Some of them are structured to where, whether it's black top, black bottoms, and then maybe in the solo round, you're free to do or wear or express yourself in whatever manner. And we were on the topic, or we brought up that a lot of outstate or persons who have not been necessarily formed within the particular fashion of the line or group that they're going out for. How do you feel about those presentations, right? Do you think that if you're going out for Silkettes, or if you're going after, or if you're going to be a part of or trying to be a part of the Black Foxes, should you quote unquote model yourself as best as you can see under, what that looks like, or not, right? So we have some high school girls. I've seen some come in with, the extended armbands and the leg bands, but that's normal for where they are, not necessarily where they're going. So how do we feel about that? Because I get it, but then again, that makes me think about the research, right? Are you really taking it seriously? Do you know where you're going and what you're trying out for? Because this is not necessarily what this fashion looks like. And that kind of hits on what you said, Michonne. Like, you're not gonna go to the DCC or the Texans looking like the Miami Dolphins or the Miami Heat, because it just does not fit that same aesthetic. So why would you do that here? Right. Or it's just like, okay, well, she was from high school, and she's coming out of high school. I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that one. What y'all think? If anything extra.
I think for me, it's twofold. A lot of times the high school squads around here twirl like the Silkettes. Okay. So I'm really not judging it that way. But as long as you can twirl, we can teach you the Silkette style. Sure. So that's what I'm looking for. As far as your presentation of how you look in the audition, for me, is look presentable. Make sure that you have on something, because there is a marching piece. We march 90s and twirl during the drill and everything. So you need to be able to do that and demonstrate that for me. Sure. So as long as you have on clothing that you can execute the moves in, you do have twirling ability, and you look groomed, I'm fine. Because we've had some people who came from core style programs who twirled nothing like we did or do, and they're beasts. They have picked the style up. It was a little difficult at first, but they're able, as long as you can twirl, you can pick up our style for the most part. So as long as you're groomed, you have on the attire to complete the moves, I'm fine with that. It's kind of hard to audition looking like a Silkette unless you went out and purchased some stuff, which I don't expect people to do. So for me, you just need to look groomed and have on the proper attire. Like if somebody showed up with jeans on, I would say nope.
Right.
That's just not feasible for what I need to see and what the judges need to see from you. So
right. I think what's also important is how your audition is set up and what each part of your audition is designed to achieve. Right. So I changed my process probably every other year, but right now we allow candidates to do a minute and a half solo, and in that solo we're really just looking for creativity and execution of what it is that they do. So I can't get all mad if they come to the audition looking like a majorette dancer or looking like some other type of dancer. Now I will kind of draw the line at, and I've made jokes about this, about using other bands' music. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
I just can't stand that. But I guess other people are okay with that, but I don't like it. But hey, whatever works for you. But we're looking for creativity in that first round. So once we get past the first round, now we're looking for technique, and then after technique, we're looking for the Fox style. So we're not really assessing you on whether you can be a Fox until the third round.
Sure.
So that format for our audition works really well. It works well. Now everybody's audition is not set up like that. So again, going back to the research, you need to research how the team that you are auditioning for, how they do their auditions. And you can go to their pre-audition workshop. Just about every team that I know of does a pre-audition workshop. And they'll spell it out for you, what's important and what they're looking for.
Gotcha.
And speaking of that, to Sean's point, I helped review some of the preliminary videos for Hot Ice recently, and there were so many videos with other bands' music, and I was confused. I was like, why? I had never experienced that. And
maybe they thought y'all wouldn't notice.
I had never experienced that in the Silkat process. Like, we would have people pull, we give them 2 songs. So I guess that doesn't matter. Like, we send them videos of kind of some Silkat style twirls there to incorporate them into a drill style piece as well as a slow piece. So I guess that's why we've been avoiding that. But I just could not believe the number of those dancer videos that had Southern, Jackson, all of these schools in the back. And I was like, it's not enough Spartan Legion music out here. If I would rather you just use the song,
right,
than to use another. I just could not believe that. I thought that was very interesting. It was strange to me. And so when you said that just now, I was like, oh my gosh, like, so it's not just here. People are really doing that. And that's just weird.
Yeah. And then again, we will invoke, let's call it the phenomenal rule. We're going to invoke the phenomenal rule. If you do that, you better be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. To where
top
I am
notch.
Not paying attention to what band is playing behind you. But
yeah.
If you're not phenomenal, we're like, nah. It's just it's kind of rude.
It is. That's the word for it. That's the way to phrase that. I was insulted, and they weren't trying out for my squad, but I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I listened to other bands. I'm not one of those people that's like, the Legion is the only thing that ever existed. That's crazy to me, but I just like band.
Yeah.
So I listened to these other schools, and I'm like, I've heard this. This is like, I could call the school name, and I'm like, this is nuts. Why did you pick this?
Right.
So I'll play devil's advocate. Maybe instead of, maybe they didn't want to be rude, and so they were like, okay, well, if I use someone else's music, then they won't think that, oh, she already thinks she is Silkat, or oh, she already thinks she in the band.
I want you to use
okay.
If you have to use band music, I would rather you use ours.
Okay, so let me hit you with this, right? Within the solo section, right, you can do what have you. How would you feel if someone auditioning performed something that your group has done in the past? And I mean verbatim, not like a little, move here and there, but actually did it. Is that flattery or is that rude? I'm just asking the important question.
No, that's not flattery. I want to see you. We send you our twirls so we can see if you can perform the style. It does not have to be perfect. But part of this is when you come to the squad, we're a student-run program. Yeah. So the section leaders come up with those routines. They may say, hey, can you help us with this piece? Or I may say, or before when it was myself and Chanel Woods, you know, tweak this part or change something here or add something there. But this is their, these are their years. I had my years, you know, this is their time to shine as far as creativity. And I need to see that you can flow into that you can also contribute in that way. So you doing what we have done doesn't show me that. Sure. And the future of the squad depends on that continued flow. And so it's not flattering, it's actually diminishing our ability to evaluate you for the squad.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. I mean, and Maya, it's not that what you just threw out there isn't, you know, possible. It's possible that's what they thought. But I don't know. I've been trying to get the word out. Like, don't do that.
No, I totally agree. And that's why we're having these conversations, right? To be able to get the information from both sides, because there are some people who don't know, and maybe this will be a part of somebody's research in the future, you know? Right. So just to be able to hit it from all angles and be as transparent as possible and really reel it in and dig into what we need, the meat of it, everything.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we all know once we make the squad, it's time for band camp. Now, if you could have it your way, do you think 2 or 3 weeks of band camp is enough? Or what would you change? What would you add? Or what does that look like to you? Is it necessary? Is it not? How do we feel about it? Because, okay, so from my experience, right? 2 or 3 weeks of band camp, you're trying to learn fundamentals. You're trying to get the flow of the team. You're trying to get all of these different personalities in-house and build a group and build a foundation off of it. Truly, you don't have a real flow of the team until maybe, I mean, to be honest, mid-season. If that, like I'm talking about a true form, and we are all clicking on all fours.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Is there something that we can do, or what can people do to kind of help build that along? Or is it just kind of the hand we've been given and we have to continue to figure it out?
Well,
go ahead. Like, well, I got a lot to say about that.
Well, we things have changed since you left, Maya. We now have what's called the summer bridge program. So we bring the freshmen in July.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just freshmen. So think of it like freshman band camp. They get to go and get 6 hours of course credit, and then we get them for the evening, and we basically treat it like freshman band camp. And that's for 3 weeks in July.
Okay.
Then the upperclassmen come the first week of August. And then we've got another 3 weeks of camp. Right? So the freshmen have been there for 6 weeks. And just because of the way social media has made things for us, you don't get till mid-season anymore. You don't. You have to come out swinging your first game, or you're going to get straight talked about. And as much as, a lot of these people on social media try to give you a little grace, and it was the first game, and
what grace?
I don't know about this grace. No. What's this grace you speak of? I don't know anything about that.
They I mean, if you aren't, that's the first thing that people are looking at. I'll never forget at the Labor Day Classic. Everybody's gathered around the band, and they're gathered around the Fox, and they're just looking. They're looking like, oh my God, oh, they look so good. They so together. Like, if you come out jacked up that first game, if you have somebody that's not quite where they need to be, do not even put them in a uniform that first game. Just don't.
I'm with you when you're right. I'm with you.
Just don't. Right. Don't do it. And they but it's made it difficult. But I will say that the way that we do band camp now has made it possible for us to, to do well. It's made it possible. I can't say what it's like for other schools who are doing 2 weeks and 2 weeks and 1 week. I can't say.
Sure.
But do I like it? No, I don't like it, because I have a full-time job. I got to work full-time and then go up to PB and be there until 9, 10, 11 o'clock.
The rooster start calling.
Right. So I don't particularly care for it, but it is working for us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It is not long enough.
Okay.
And what I will say is that what Chanel started to do, and I'm going to continue to do, I'm actually meeting with the section leaders Monday, is we do, after auditions ends on the 31st, we do weekly trainings. And those who can get here, and we alternate between a weekday and a weekend. So those that can get here, get that foundation. We're working on fundamentals. We're working on things like attention, parade, rest, the basics, so that when band camp starts, we're working on routines because you already know the basics. We also have it so that we started this during the pandemic, where we can also send the basic twirls to those who make the squad that are not close enough to get to those trainings. And we do those from all of June and the first 2 weeks of July. We start band camp the 1st of August. So they will have the foundation when they get here, so that we do hit the ground running, because it's not long enough. If you're starting from scratch, it is not nice. It is not nice. It is a lot to get done in 2 or 3 weeks. So that's what we've started to do. So those who can get to the in-person trainings, they are welcome. We do them for, I think it's a total of 6 weeks. And then those who can't make it, we send them the videos so that they can start learning the fundamentals. And we do expect that from those videos, you have some form of it down. It may need to be tweaked or fixed once you get here, but you need to have worked on those before you show up here, because we have a goal of what we want to accomplish in those weeks of band camp.
Right. And Portia, I don't know if you noticed this at Norfolk, but learning by video has worked really well. This generation is doing really well learning by video. It would never have worked for me in my day.
No, I need to touch it and feel it, but They are showing up like they've been at those trainings, or it's very close to where just change your hand here, put this kind of spin on it, and it's right. So it is working, Sean. I have found that it is working, and that's why we're going to continue to do it. If you can't make it to those trainings, hear these videos, these are the things that we're teaching in person for you to work on and have by the time you arrive.
Interesting. And no, I don't think it would have worked for me either, because I would have been like, okay, I got to flip. I'm looking at it. It looks like my left foot on here, but it's actually my right foot. And I got to, I would have been like, listen.
Yeah.
But I will say is that
hotel or something, like, what we going to do? Because it's not
the section leader, when she recorded these, she did a really good job, because she did it from the front. She did it from the side. She did a rotation.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
So they were able to see it from all angles. And I think that helps. I didn't even ask her. We didn't ask her to do that, but she was like, I'm just thinking about how I would need it. And so she did that for every single thing. And so it goes around and around, and they understand where they should be and how they need to implement it.
So we've talked about the transition or the start of the transition from the beginning, right? Being new, being a rookie, being a crab, whatever your former language is. What about from the back end, right? So if we talk about leadership, if we talk about old heads, as we spend more years on these lines, we can get a little lax, or our style may change, or the way in which we do certain things, or as we get more comfortable with the style, the look of it may possibly change. And then also when we talk about integrating new leadership, just as, the rookies have to get comfortable with this new style of team, the new style of leadership has to get comfortable with implementing, this is what I see for the season, or this is my take on what this group looks like. How do we do, or do we think that we're doing a good job of, kind of making a space for that to happen? Is that more prominent if it's a student ran type of organization versus not? Or how do we get both sides clicking to where it kind of meshes into one while still giving the leadership that opportunity to shine and say, I was chosen as a leader for these reasons. This is how I see my group performing. Because, I mean, it's inevitable that who's behind you or who you are leading are going to stem from you. They're going to pick up certain things. They're going to display different actions or looks, or even just whether it comes down to integrity and tenacity. All those different things are going to be picked up from the top down. So what do we think about that?
Portia, you go.
I think for us, the style is really, really distinct.
That's fair.
So, it's kind of a blueprint there, but we've been pushing for, to incorporate different things into that style, add a flash of something different here. So that's what I challenge the new leaders, and what Chanel and I were challenging previously the new leaders with. What can we do? We're going to be the Silkettes. That's understood. Mm-hmm. But what can we do to grow? Because anything that is not evolving, changing, like they toss now. We didn't toss when I was there. Sean knows. We didn't do that. But it's dope. And I think that's awesome. They do quite a few things now that I didn't do before, that I think have made the squad better. So what can we continue to add to this, incorporate, improve upon? Because there's always room for improvement. So that was one of the things that I asked them, like, now that you all have this position, what's next? Like, how we had a great season last year. What are some things from that, though, that we can improve upon? How can we grow? What additional aspects can we incorporate into our style to push it forward? So that's my thing. Our style is kind of set, but growing it, adding to it, making this group of Silkettes you all's legacy. I had my time, but what do you want to leave as your mark on the Silkettes? And what, in turn, what it will be in the next 5 years, because they'll be following the path you set now. So that's my challenge to them. Think about something different, something out of the box, something we can add that will make everybody go, well, that's different for the Silkettes. I mean, because you don't want to be one track minded, even though we have a very distinct style. I mean, you don't want it to be the same as what I did. That's just not growth. So that's my challenge to them.
Right. Well, I think that was a very difficult thing for me to get my hands around, because PV is and not just PV, but the SWAC in general. We don't like change very much. So when my first couple years working with the Foxes on my own was met with some resistance, because it was, you're changing our style, you're trying to make us look like the dolls, you're doing this, and well, I don't like that, and what about, we want our old uniforms back, and we want the poofy hair, and we want the earrings, and we want all of that back. And it was met with a lot of resistance. But having gone through that exact same experience when I danced, I understood how important it was to not just come in there and just wipe the slate clean, that we keep, the traditions, but at the same time, we have to grow. And the environment that we perform in now is forcing us to grow. You either grow or you get left behind. And so, as each, team comes in, or new sets of captains, you'll look at them and each of them leaves their mark. And each of them has their thing that they do. And that's how come, the fan pages and all that stuff, they give them these names. Hammy it's Hammy time. And and everybody gets their own little name, for what they're doing. And I personally like growth, and I like to challenge them. And that's why I bring in clinicians who do other things. So I bring in Mr. Ken, who does modern and jazz and Broadway jazz. I bring in Miss Britt, who will also do jazz and lyrical. I bring in someone who will come in and teach them hip hop. I bring in all these different influences, so at least they can kind of think about it and they can understand that I want them to move differently. I want them to grow. So, Portia, as you said, growth is just super, super important, I believe, especially now, but you still have to kind of keep your traditions. There's just things about, your group that you're going to keep some of those things. As far as like the captains and stuff, I mean, they're like children. They're like your children. They all have different personalities.
Yeah.
And they lead in different ways. And all you have to do is go to the CW app and look at episode 7, and you see what's about to happen here. Shelby just got announced as captain. So, as she's already said, I'm looking to bring more creativity and more growth to the Foxes. That's what she said. So, it's everyone is different. Every group of every set of captains has their own agenda, and then as coaches, it's up to us to kind of make sure to keep our pulse on what they're doing and go
right. Got it. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say that the Silkettes are kind of on autopilot at this like, my job is really easy. When Chanel came back, and just the structure and how could I say it? She set us up for success. And I literally am charged with keeping it going. They are really self-sufficient. Like, a lot of times I'll text them like, hey, da 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 da, and they like, oh, we took care of that. We're gonna do da 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 da. Like, it is really like autopilot. And then we are a squad that we tap into everybody. So they'll task, like last year, every year they do this, we call them rookies, will be responsible for certain parts of routines, a certain number of counts, a certain number of this, a certain number of that, so that, when it's your turn, you know what it's like to make up routines. You know what it's like to come up with stands. You know what it's like to do the things that your section leaders are doing, so that for us, it's kind of like, not, oh, Lord, who's next? But it's like, Lord, how do we choose who's next? So I have to brag about that. Like, a lot of times I do not have to worry about them and what they're doing. And what I can say is that if there's an issue, we have a woman-to-woman conversation, because I always tell them, and probably get sick of me saying it, when you leave here, I want you all to be set up for success in life. I want you all to be good at life. I want you all to be good people. I want you to leave here better than you came. And so we have life conversations. If there's something wrong, we talk about it. We address it. I don't yell. I don't scream, because they're adults. That's the reality, is that these are adults. And so we have those conversations. We move on. And I 9 times out of 10 never have to address it again. So the squad is literally on autopilot.
Portia, I feel bad for you when you finally have to get somebody that's like, when you finally get somebody that's like, I don't know what to do, you're going to be so just like put out, because you're going to be like, wait. Like,
I'm so spoiled, right? I don't know. It is so literally like, you know, even to the point where the band directors are like, oh, we know they got
right.
your stuff, you know, y'all got it together. You know, we don't have to worry about y'all. So I don't know, Sean, I don't know. I'm probably gonna have a heart attack or something when I finally, if that day comes.
Well, let's find some wood to knock on so we can keep that going for as long as possible. As long as possible. So when y'all were talking, that kind of got me thinking, right? So no one is ever going to be satisfied. No, there's not going to be any group that's ever going to be 100% satisfied. So how do we continue in the light of giving respect to growth, but then saying, okay, well, how much respect do we give to the tradition? But then how much respect do we give to everybody not ending up looking alike? Because at the end of the day, everyone is going to feel some type of way about it. So what do we do? And what is the right way to do it? Because, you know, I read now, being on the other side of it, sometimes I read the comments like, this is where people really think. And it'd be the main ones who ain't never set foot in, toe in, placed a hand around, and pole, and saber, you know, anything. Ain't took a technique class to save their life, but be the main one going to town in the comments about how right or wrong something is.
Right.
Oh, everybody looks alike. Oh, this, that, and the third. So it's like, what do we do? What do you, or how do you all handle it? Or do you just say, child, please?
You just have to not care.
Yeah, I don't worry about that. You know, I get it a lot with the Silkettes. They look too much like this. Why are y'all doing that? It doesn't, you know, I don't like you all style, but is it tight? Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
You might not like how they look, how it compares to everybody else, but it's going to be tight.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to do our job. We're going to add color. It's going to complement the music. So unless you're saying we did something bad, and even then I don't care because that's your standard. That's not ours.
Sure.
I look at the comments, but I don't care about the comments.
Right.
If it makes sense.
Sure.
I can't worry about that. My goal is to make sure that these students get the best experience possible. My Legion experience changed my life. I had an absolute blast. Hills, valleys, ups, downs, highs, and lows, but it was life-changing for me. And it's still one of the best experiences of my life. I can't help foster that kind of environment if I'm worried about the outside.
True.
Right. I just want to have a sidebar, Portia and Maya, that I was with both of y'all when y'all were students.
Yes.
Sidebar, did you know that, Maya?
Did you know she was?
I did not know that. No, I didn't know that, but
yes.
I was at Norfolk State when Portia was a student.
Yep.
That makes, wow.
I feel old now. Okay.
No, that ain't no old.
I feel
That's
old now. Back to our scheduled programming. Okay, but
no, that's full circle. Look how life came full
circle. The years that I was captain, Sean was there.
Yep.
Same.
Yep.
Same.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I will tell you, and I'll echo what you say. It's, you know, you just can't care. And it actually got to the point where I had to designate the Clapback Crew. And if you remember,
wait a minute, now we're talking. You said
it's a bunch of Marcia Stone band members that go in there and clap back every time somebody says something stupid. They go in there and clap back at them because I'm not going to deal with it, right? Yeah. And I've told the Foxes that they can't deal with it.
Yeah.
So I have the Clapback Crew. Donnie used to be one of the big ones. He was the leader of the Clapback Crew. So
I don't even have to designate. The Silkettes do not play about the Silkettes. So you're not going to save us so much before somebody, and even the Legion, we know we're different. The whole program is different. That's just how we are. And you're not going to say too much about the Silkettes. I mean, they are really, I mean, the band told me this year, if you want to have a good time, you invite the Silkettes. And I was like, what? So, because they're really, really fun, personable people. So, you know, the Legion is really protective of them. So you're not going to say too much crazy because they're going to be on it. Like what you say, what your squad look like.
Right.
You know, we'll put the Silkettes up against anybody. What you got to say? Like, that's how they roll. And the Silkettes, especially old Silkettes, some of them not wrapped too tight. So I don't even have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, a lot of people get into comparisons with us. And my attitude to that is we're going to do us all day long. Yeah. And it's gonna be good. You might not like it. It might not be your cup of tea, but you will not say it's raggedy. You will not say it's not tight.
Right.
So
and I just don't think that you ever want to change so much that they just don't recognize you. Sure. You know, and so like I said, having gone through that myself, I'm very sensitive to that when I'm doing things with the Foxes or I'm giving direction or, you know, even when they I'm real bad. I'm real tight on them about doing things that other teams do. I'm real tight about that. You know, because there have been years when you could tell that they were watching YouTube a lot, and they were watching other teams, and so I always have to tell them, do not watch other teams. I'm just like, if you want to go get inspiration from somewhere, then go watch A-League, go watch Dance Theater Harlem, go watch Sean Bankhead, you know, but do not watch other teams. And because that stuff just starts to cross-pollinate. And next thing you know, you've got some argument about, you know, well, who did this and who was the first to do that, and y'all stole this from so and so, and blah
and
blah blah. You know,
so messy and crazy, and it's like no,
yeah. So it's just, you know, it's just important to maintain your you know, a segment of your identity. I think for everybody now, you may get somebody that goes to a school and maybe they didn't attend that school. They're not very familiar with that school, and they just go in there and wipe the slate clean.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah. And while we're on the topic of social media and everything that comes with it, and even Miss Shawn, everything that what you and Portia have just said, that takes me back to knowing what I know now and being on this side of it and seeing how technology and everything has transitioned thus far. I would do my years. So now I had a blast, but I would do things so much differently. Now, what I don't know or what I am thankful for is that in terms of how prevalent cameras, people, as soon as you do the first two-way counts, or as soon as you march in the stadium, YouTube got
on the internet.
Twitter got it. Yep. You know, so that's the part I'm like, ooh, now, you know, it was starting to grow when, you know, in my years.
Yeah.
But how do you get your team ready for that? Because we can easily say, hey, it's a whole different beast when you get in front of when you set up black band or whatever it is, and them eyes go on you. It's a totally different story to be able to say it than to actually feel it, see it, and kind of and be in the moment with it. How do you get somebody ready for that? The name calling, I remember one year we went to the Cotton Bowl and it was a whole person with my face on the shirt. I ain't never seen this person a day in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like those types of things, or people trying to grab at you or nab at you, or, you know, and all those different things. Like, how do you prepare somebody for that in real life? Because it's truly crazy, and there's no amount of words that I can kind of explain this in until you actually get into those shoes and actually feel it and experience it for yourself. Right. But it's just like, how do you prepare somebody? How do you prepare someone for that? Or do you guys have that conversation with your teams? Or is it just kind of like,
you have to. You have to, because I think it's dancers experience it more. But like I said, up here, Silkettes, and I mean, even in some weird places, Silkettes have like their own following. So it's some weird stuff. Like I still go places and they'll be like, "You're Portia. You marched from 06 to 08. You were captain after 1 year." And sir,
Wow.
ma'am,
Yeah.
calm down. It's
Wow.
all of this is weird for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to have those conversations. Part of what I say to them now, and it is different from when I was in the band. I mean, people had to record it, then go back to wherever they were staying, living, whatever, upload it, and then it was on the internet. This instant thing is something different. So what I tell them is, because we're in the MEAC, and that's a whole nother story. It's barely any bands. We are the MEAC.
I feel that's right.
But what I tell them, and we tell this to the Legion as well, the difference between nobody showing up here in 06, 07, 08 is that, you know, our clips will go up, but you know, somebody had to post them. You all are going up against every band in the United States every time you step off, because as soon as you step off, it is on the internet. There is no time for an off performance. There is no time for the grace period, so to speak. None of that, because everything you all do is instant. Most of this stuff is live now. Like there is no editing. There is no, it is what it is. So you all need to be performance ready at all times. And if you cannot check out, I'm telling you, I used to literally, I tell people all the time, when we did Honda in 07, everybody was like, that was the most amazing performance ever. Literally, I remember coming to attention and bowing at the end. I don't remember
anything that happened in between.
Relatable content.
I'm telling you, like, because it was so many people in that dome, I was like, oh my God, like what in the world? And we were sitting in there all before, and I was like, oh, la, la, la. And then when we came out, once it started, I was like, oh my God.
Layers upon layers upon layers upon layers in that Georgia. Yeah.
And so I was mentally kind of freaking out. But what I tell them is that what prepared me for that was that thanks to Dr. Tim Zachary, we ran that show.
Yeah, exactly.
So many times.
Yeah.
That literally I was probably having some sort of anxiety attack and went into autopilot. My body did what my mind couldn't do at that moment.
Right.
So what I use that as, and I tell them that story every year to convey to them the importance of preparation.
Right.
Because you're going to be faced with some situations that sometimes your mind cannot handle.
Exactly.
But if you prepare before, your body is going to autopilot. I'm a living witness, I promise you, because I don't remember that performance. Now, the next year we went, it wasn't as bad because I had been in that situation before. But that first time, and I'm going to tell you, I experienced the same thing in Houston when we went this last time. That was my first time being on that stage as a coach. Yeah. I felt like the same thing. I literally could not stop moving, and like I was freaking out.
Yeah.
But they killed it. But literally, I had to say to myself, you all have prepared them.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
Right.
But that's my message, is that you have to prepare. You have to put in that time beforehand, because it can be scary to be on that stage and to have people grabbing at you and calling your name. And if you're not in the right headspace and you haven't prepared, it can go real bad. But that's the importance of preparation, in my opinion.
And I'm old school, y'all. And as much as I have tried to balance how we interact with the audience and how we interact with social media. I'm still very much on the conservative side. So there are but you do have to prepare them because it takes on a life of its own. And one of the big things now is those fan pages, and it's not just fan pages of the team, but it's fan pages of individual people. And I I always have to kind of warn them, because I say, you're smiling and you're grinning right now. I said, but something that seems really good can go left really fast. For the good that it might bring, it can also bring you some bad. Absolutely. So I talk to them a lot about exposure and social media. Maya, with our rules and regulations, we have rules about what you can and can't and should not do as a fox. You have to understand that being a fox is not something that you take off when you leave rehearsal or when you leave a performance. You are a fox all the time, and that is for everybody. Exactly. It's for everybody. You represent that organization and your university all the time. So if you decide to go to a club with some fox gear on and start dancing on tables and things of that nature, it's not going to be look at Maya. It's going to be look at that fox Maya.
Yep.
And so you have to explain that to them. And we do a social media fast during camp. And I know some other teams that don't allow them to do any personal social media at all during the season. So it's you really have to drive it home, and there has to be consequences for people who don't quite get it, who don't understand. Who maybe didn't hear me all that well. But you have to talk about it all the time. You have to talk about being careful when they're out in public. You have to talk to them about not engaging with people on social media. Not engaging with people in person.
Exactly.
If they come up to you and want to argue you down about something, you got to make your exit. You have to. So it's just constant education, constant reinforcement, because it is so important. Because one wrong move, one wrong thing, and it'll take the whole band down. Not just the group, the band. It'll take everybody down. So it's just real. It's unfortunate that it is that as powerful as it is, but it's powerful. And so people have to learn that you can't play around.
Yep. Either they're gonna learn the easy way or the hard way.
Right.
And you said even gear or no gear, pero or no pero. Once you get into that spot,
people know
think that you grocery shopping, going down aisle 10, getting your little cake batter or whatever. Child, please, somebody will recognize you.
Yep.
And come up to you and start doing this, that, and the third. That's one thing that's part of the dark side that I don't think that people shed enough light on.
Right.
Even and especially being in some place like PB where you have to travel to go, do the things that you want to do or what have you. Like when you get that platform, everybody thinks that platform makes you equally as accessible as you are on your social media feed.
Right.
It does not. So it's like, okay, well, now I don't even feel, it doesn't feel the same just going to the grocery store. It doesn't feel the same trying to run errands or be out and about, because now I'm always on guard. Now I'm looking at all my surroundings, which we should be doing anyways.
Right.
But it's heightened to a different level. And that's something else that I think that flies under the notion of, like, you say that you want to be a part, but please understand, it is everything that glitters is not gold. Right. And it's a whole lot of that comes with having that platform and being a part of these teams and being so prominent within social media or just in the face of the university of itself. So
right. Right. Yeah, it's tough. And what I foresee happening, there's gonna be a retrograde. There's gonna be a rollback at some point. Yeah, we're gonna hit the ceiling like this, and then we're gonna start to roll it back because something is going to happen. It's the same thing that happened in the band world after Robert Champion.
Yeah.
You know, you hit this, and then all of a sudden everything kind of rolls back, and eventually, we're going to do that as well. I think that people, more and more people, coaches, band directors, they're starting to realize that, hey, my face is all over the place, and there's somebody making money off of it, and I'm not getting any of that money.
We talked about this last night. The Bethune-Cookman drum major thing that the whole world is doing, and they're not getting paid for that
at all.
That's wrong. That's theirs. That is theirs.
Yep. And they're not. It's people start thinking, and they're like, wait a minute. So I think at some point it's going to start rolling back a little bit, and then there's some other innovation is going to happen, and people are going to start doing other things. Social media is here to stay, but I see from coaches that I've talked to, I see people approaching it with way more caution right now than they used to.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's really, really interesting. That makes me okay. So aside from social media and the way that things are progressing, or the way that they may regress, is that regress? Not sure. Anywho, within like the next like tangible timeline, 5 years, 10 years, what do we see happening in the HBCU world? Whether it's dance, whether it's band, whether it's auxiliary itself, how do we see it changing? Especially with especially with the implementation, or just the way in which the new generations are becoming aligned with everything that's out there, right? So whether it's gender identity, whether it's the reform of all of those things, how do we see the dance lines, or the auxiliary lines, the bands as we know them today? Do we see them changing? Do we see us opening up the door to seeing more transgendered or more men, or what have you, or what does that look like, if we even want to go there? Now I understand if we need to wop and go and go on to the next topic, I get that too, if we want to hit on it. What we think?
I'll say this. I do think that if we aren't careful, and I think we talked about this a little bit on the first show that I joined on Talk That Talk, is social media is kind of blurring the lines. The identities that made these squads great are not necessarily as prevalent anymore. And I think that because of likes and wanting to be accepted and be considered what's hot, people are doing what Sean said, looking at YouTube and other squads and stuff like that. And not everybody has coordinators that are going to say, no, if you need to look somewhere for inspiration, these are the places that are acceptable. So I think we are going to see some squads start to look a lot more like other squads. Instead of expanding on their style.
Yeah.
Because this other group is getting more likes than we are right now.
But if you think about it, Portia, that's the same thing that's happened in the band world. Everybody's going towards the style of a certain band.
Not the Legion.
Not Baltimore. He who should not be named.
We can't say the name.
But yeah, you can say it.
Well, I mean, but that's crazy to me, because to me, a lot of these programs had something different.
Yes.
Brought something different to the table. Right. And that was okay. Like, everybody, there's enough lanes for everybody. Like,
And
why
that's
you
what
gotta
made it
come over here?
exciting. That's what made it what it was.
Exactly. It's not a competition if I come and everybody look like that band.
Right.
We over here trying to not be that band.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie. We like, what can we do different? We'll ask ourselves all the time in meetings, is the Legion legioning? Are we being the Legion? You know what I'm saying? Like, we are trying to push the envelope, but who are we? That's a constant reminder. Like, is it musical? Does it fit in line with what we do great? Because that's the other thing. You can't be nobody else because you don't have their skills. So that's the other thing. You have people putting out products that are not necessarily their best because they're trying to be somebody else. You got to be you and make what you're doing and your attributes great. You can't be, somebody else because you don't have what makes them them.
Well, you can't tell them that.
Well, you're right, because sometimes I'm looking at some of these programs like,
yeah,
this ain't it.
Yeah, back to some of the other things that Maya had mentioned. I think it's only inevitable that our teams are going to become more diverse. It's just inevitable. I can't tell you why I think that, or when I think it's going to happen or whatever, but I just think it's inevitable. There have been, I don't know if you remember, Portia, you remember Crystal, when Crystal Chambers was coaching not before she went to Central, she was at another school.
Was it?
I don't know if it was Johnson C. Smith or who it was, but she had a young man on her team back then, and that was like what, 8-10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's happened in some spaces. And it's only inevitable that it's gonna start to kind of go in other places, but people have asked me all the time, can boys audition? Yeah, they can audition. But it's our biggest problem at this point, and this may be something you might want to talk about, but it has been the proliferation of stand routines that has taken over HBCU dance. So you and this is something that we need to tell the young people who are auditioning for our teams. You can't come in just because you can do a great stand routine.
No, but I think that's, to your point, Sean, that's reflective of HBCU bands. Like, when I was in the band, stands were important, but that field show made you that's the winner. Who got out there and put on a complete show? This is a marching band.
Right.
You can be great in the stands, but can you march and play these tunes? Right. Can you put together a show that makes sense, that is high energy, musical from top to bottom? Can you do that? Because if you can't do that, we're not worried about you. Right. And now there's been this shift of people in a marching band standing still and playing songs, and that make you the king. I'm sorry. Where's the field? Okay. Marching band. Come on. What are we doing on the field? Marching band. Because if we gonna if we gonna do something different, call it stand bands, right? Or pep bands, or whatever else. I'm being real. Like, oh, put that on the shirt. They weren't that good on the field, but the stands was great. Yeah. What is this, a pep band? I'm sorry, I don't care about that. That field show was not that. It was not.
But I mean, I just look, and I'm a purist. I'm a little bit of a snob. And so Sean. I just,
y'all probably made me that way, but I'm for real, because Sean, how much the stands were important. You need to entertain the crowd and all of that, but our job is to show up and put on a field show.
Field show. It's all about the field show. That was a hashtag that I used quite a bit. It's about the field show. It's about the field show. But social media has made it about stands. And I have seen some dancers come through who are just phenomenal in the stands.
But you got to be able to dance on the field.
But you have to be able to dance on the field. You have to have a certain level of not just technique, because not every squad is a technique based squad. Okay. But you need to be able to present yourself, and you need to be able to have showmanship, and you need to be able to project from the beginning of that song to the very end of that song. You have got to have stamina. You have got to be able to do a very clean field show, and regardless of whether you are a technique-based team, or you are a bucking team, or you a J-setting team, or whatever it is, So every style has its own level of technique, and you have to be able to do it. So that's kind of where we're lacking, and that's where we're trying to get the word out. Get the word out. This is what you need to do.
So for us, it's the opposite. Like, a lot of people don't even realize how much the Silkettes dance in the stands, because we're known for the field. And I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they kind of want both worlds, and I see that, but even when I was in the band, like, did we kill it on the field? We gonna have this stand stuff was for us, fun for us. This is the fun part. We took care of business. Let's get to this fun. You know what I'm saying? But for us, it's the opposite. Like, we known for our field stuff. They do dance in the stands. They do a lot more dancing than we did. I mean, the stuff be cute too. That's what I'm talking about. Creativity and innovation. Some of it, I'd be like, teach me that. That's cute. You know what I'm saying? But it's the opposite for us. And I'm okay with that, especially as a coach. Like, I want you to be able to do this field stuff, and then we can work on that. But you got to get this first. You know what I'm saying? You have to be. The goal is ultimately to be well-rounded, and it burns me up that everybody is focused on these stands, because it's a stand band, pep band.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that is something that could be a whole segment, a whole show in itself. Write that down. Put that on the ballot.
Write that down. Go ahead, Maya. Write that down.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know how we ended up here, but it went bad somewhere.
But you know what? And that's what it's about. And that's what I love. Like, for us to just be able to, we can have a topic, but it's supposed to flourish. It's supposed to kind of hit from different angles and make it that way. We know we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
And we're trying to hit all sides as best as we can.
Right.
So I'm loving it. And I think that we were talking about phenomenal. I think this was phenomenal. I think for the first time, I think that this was phenomenal. Y'all seen that TikTok or that sound that said, "Boy, we had a time last night. Boy, we had a time tonight."
And I think for me, is to see that these things aren't in my head, like the different things that I'm experiencing, Sean is experiencing. I'm not crazy, because some of this stuff, when she said that comment about them using other band music, I was like, Lord, was she here with me when I was thinking that?
Well, I thought I was the only one that thought that was, that thought something about that, because nobody else has ever said that, and so many people still do it. And I understand that people want to showcase what they like, and I mean, it's cool. I'm not telling you don't like another band,
but do that with
you
that
definitely want to set yourself up in the best way possible to make the best impression that you can make.
Absolutely.
For the judges.
Absolutely. I love a lot of bands.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I have a favorite dance line. I have another flag line that I'm like, I'm really rooting for them. Like, they look good. I like what they're doing. It's other programs that I'm interested in, because y'all, my connection to y'all, I'm always watching the Storm. And so, I mean, that's not a bad thing. And I actually think it's weird when band people are like, the only thing that ever exists is this. What are you talking about? Like, there is some great stuff going on out here.
Yeah.
And we need to be celebrating one another.
Yeah, we do. We do.
You know, but don't submit an audition video with that in it.
No, don't do that.
If you don't take away anything else, let that be a tip to you. Free game.
Okay.
Free game. That's hilarious. Thank y'all so much. I feel so good. I feel so empowered.
So do I, Maya. I'm so glad that you invited me to do this.
Now, Miss Shauna, you know, now who else was I gonna call? The living legend, of course, absolutely. And I appreciate you both for being willing to do this. And I just really cannot wait to see how this continues to grow and how it changes and how we continue to progress. I'm living for this. Dreams are coming true. Thank y'all so much. Now, I guess we're going to have to figure out exactly how we want to tailor this end section. But, you know, no problem. One step, and we'll figure it out as we keep on going. Is there any final words that anybody wants to say, mention, any handles, any information, news, upcoming, anything, or anything that anybody wants to end off with?
Silkat auditions are open till May 31st. If you can twirl and you want to come to Norfolk State or one of the surrounding schools, please do not hesitate to try out. If you can twirl, we can make your Silkat. The other thing is for all of those who are auditioning, thinking about auditioning, being in marching band is one of the best experiences of your entire life. It is life-changing. You make lifelong friends. But if you don't take anything else away from this, put your best foot forward. We do not know you from a can of paint. We are going to use that to judge you initially. So please give it your best. If there's something that is absolutely not clear, please ask questions so that you're putting yourself in the best light for those judges.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's great advice. I would first of all, I just want to say I'm trying to like side eye the comments and stuff, but I'm seeing people are saying hey, so we're like, hey y'all, hey Leslie, hey Quan. I saw Coach G earlier. Hey Coach G, but I would say that, you know, again, it's just so important for you to research. One of the questions that didn't come up, we might be able to talk about it later though, Maya, is how do coaches feel if you're going around trying out for more than one team? And because things are so tribal right now, and there are actually some teams that don't like it when you do that. Some teams don't care. I don't care. Because I believe that if you want to dance, you should be able to dance. But I'm different. Some teams don't like it. So you need to figure that out. You need to, get the skinny on the team that you are auditioning for, because coaches talk.
Yeah.
And if I happen to, mention to someone, oh yeah, so-and-so showed up at my audition, and then that coach is like, well, oh yeah, she showed up at my audition too. Like I said, I don't care. They might care. So that, do your research. Always take it seriously. Don't underestimate the value of the experience that you're going to get from the audition, from being on the team, and from being in a band family. Just don't underestimate it. It is the best experience ever. Even if you don't make it the first time and you decide you're going to go back and audition again, go better than the first time you went. Don't go back and be the same person, the same skill level that you were the first time. Because what happens on these teams, the skill levels just go up and up and up and up. So what may have gotten you on the team last year will not get you on the team this year. Okay, if that makes sense. So You have to, if you've decided, okay, I didn't make it this time, but I'm gonna go back next year, get in a dance class, or go, or increase your stamina, or get someone who can give you private lessons, or whatever it is, but don't go back the same way you were the first time, because that's just a waste of time.
Yep.
So that's my best advice that I could give to anyone that's out there. Good luck to you, and follow the directions. and good luck. I hope y'all, whatever team you're going to be trying out for, I hope you make it.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, overall, whether it made it and didn't make it, there's always a lesson in the journey.
That's right.
And I hope that there's a lesson in this journey, and there will continue to be lessons. I was taking a look at the comments, and thank you for saying that gems were dropped. I hope that they continue to be dropped, and sprinkled all over the place, so we can all flourish, and that we can all do the best we can to kind of feed back into the art that we love, and feed back into the community that we love, and be able to kind of have those conversations that need to be had.
Right.
Negative, well, I won't say negative, but good or bad, the highs and the lows, we need to talk about all of it, because that's the only way we're going to grow and get to where we need to be, want to be, and are. Mm-hmm. So I thank you both. I can't wait to do it again. Now, I do think that we'll be right back here 2 weeks from now. I think right now we're trending on an every other week basis. In the future, I would like to be able to get some feedback or some chime-ins, whether it's emails from our viewers, so we can kind of feedback and kind of answer the questions that we get as well. We'll roll that into the show as well. But I mean, hey, for the first one, we truly had a time. This was amazing. You ladies are beautiful. You're so talented, and I appreciate everything that you're doing, including being here with us tonight. So thank y'all so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, Doc. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
See y'all next time.
Good night.